Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for coming along to not quite what was billed, I'm afraid. The original name, I think, got a little bit twisted in what we were talking about, but it does pose a really good question, which is, what good PMOs have we got out there? Does anybody belong to a really good PMO out there? Does everyone feel everything's working well in your PMO? God, look at all those hands. Okay, I know you're all being truthful now. So I'm here from Movar. If you are not aware of us, please feel free to pop by and see us over at our booth near the main entrance. Movar is a consultancy. We've grown up over the last few years to become what we are today, which is more of a disruptor in the AI and technology space. We have got a great deal of consultancy experience behind us, and what we now are focusing our sights on is the implementation of efficient digital PMOs, and most importantly of all, next practice, the things that come after we've got digital PMOs working well in your fields. So what PMO challenges do we have today? We're always set these things up with good intent. I think every time I go into a PMO, it feels like it's the first time we've ever set up a PMO. Everyone's rehashing documents that they've got from the last one. There's an over-reliance on spreadsheets. I would put my hand up and say I'm very guilty of this, and a lot of disconnected tools. I was saying to somebody yesterday that it feels like I'm checking 4 or 5 different inboxes every day, everything from project change to document control, as well as the normal standard emails. And there's a lot of manual reporting. It's very high effort to put these things together. And at the end of the day, it's usually so late by that point that any decisions that you needed to have made will have already gone past. There's very poor visibility of performance and risk. We are seeing a lot more digital dashboards, but a digital dashboard is not what makes a PMO or a digital PMO. There's a lot of role ambiguity and stretched resources. When I worked at Network Rail, we used to have the Q12, which I think a lot of people will probably be quite familiar with, which was supposed to highlight the fact that people very rarely knew what was actually required of them at work. And that's certainly a case in a lot of the PMOs I've worked in, a lot of role confusion. And we see a lot of evolved but undocumented workflows that have taken into account changes that have happened over a period of time. A lot of these PMOs have been set up for a very long time. They've evolved over time. Some of the things that we see PMOs that have grown up, manual documentation that's just been digitalized, people just typed it up, not really taking into account the changes in technology that we're seeing. And that all comes to a head. It gives us a lot of stretch to people. You've got all these reporting requirements, there's a lot of expectations, and essentially you end up stretching your staff. A lot of this is down to the fact that you've got inconsistent project governance across your programs. Teams are constantly firefighting. We're not planning. I call it post-planning. I seem to spend all my time as a planner ticking things that have happened, not really looking ahead to see where we need to go. The decisions are driven by instinct rather than any evidence. I've sat in meetings where project managers have got their own secret plans in their back pocket because it's easier to maintain a project plan in their pocket rather than actually sitting down and looking what's coming up. And they make those decisions based on what's already happened on site. Quite often you're reporting on stuff 3 weeks in the past. There's a minimal ability to scale. We are seeing a lot of problems with portfolio complexity, and it seems like everyone's got their own different version of PMO or their own different reporting requirements and documentation. Individuals are always feeling undervalued and overwhelmed. If you look at how successful a PMO is, I think you'll find that you'll see your turnover rate, and that will give you a good indication of how happy people are working in the PMOs. So what's a digital PMO going to do to solve these problems? Well-designed digital PMOs tackle the root causes. And to be fair, you could still do this with a traditional PMO. There are advantages of a digital PMO, however. So looking at the traditional parts of this is going back and standardizing your governance. It's looking at your processes and procedures, integrated tooling so that you've got one place to go to get information. With real-time data, you need to look at your primary data sources. You want to remove the spreadsheets out of the system. I hear about paperless offices all the time. It'd be lovely to see a spreadsheetless office as well. Decision-making, grounded in live data. No longer should we be looking back what happened 4 weeks ago and be making the decisions to close out our period end processes. With structured data and AI-supported analysis, you can really speed things up. You have a good first pass before it even gets into the project manager's lap. There's flexible frameworks and digital workflows that adapt to your portfolio size and complexity. And all these routine tasks are automated, freeing teams to focus up on value-added and strategic work. We'll talk a little bit more about that. So what's a good digital PMO look like? That's maybe where the title has come from for the meeting. A digital PMO is more than just dashboards. We are not a shiny dashboard manufacturer. I say that, Neobard did win an award last year for a really nice AI-created digital dashboard. But that's one of the key products that comes out at the end of this process. What we're looking for is seamless integration across systems and functions. Ideally, as I said at the start, you don't want to be checking multiple data sources when you want to come in. You want everything collated in one place, exactly profiled for the type of project you're on. Your clear roles and responsibilities with repeatable workflows, proactive AI-supported decision-making, real-time automated reporting and assurance. And I think assurance is very heavily overlooked when you're trying to get these documents out the door, and scalable agile framework aligned to organizational goals. And what benefits does that bring? So, improved efficiency. We like to roll this out each time. It just feels like every time you see digital dashboards coming out, it seems like there's more work involved. But if everything's automated and everything's being pulled through, we should be seeing that improved efficiency. And that gives us the ability to make better use of the talent. When I worked at WSP, one of the key things that we found when we started to look into digital PMO type activities was that project managers were horrendously overworked and their role was jam spread. They had elements of commercial management and reporting, document management. They've got all their contractual stuff that they've got to sign off. And they were just in a mire of 7 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock at night, ticking boxes off. By the time you start reducing their workload with agentic AIs and clever reviews of the data before it gets to them, you can start to use that project manager more effectively. They're less stressed, they're less burnt out, you're going to see a lot less illness, and you're also going to see them working better and potentially across multiple projects as well. Certainly at WSP, by relieving that workflows, we were able to help them move on to do other workspace. And we've done this across our other clients as well. Higher quality insights, looking at the data that is being driven out of these, out of the documentation. AI pulls out things that you wouldn't even see. I'm very biased. When I look at a project, there are things that I see and I look for in a project when I'm a controls manager and I'm reviewing data. When I've got AI looking over my shoulder, it actually pulls things out that I'm not looking for. And those are the surprising things. Obviously, we've still got a man in the middle. We've got to go back and check our results. But the higher quality insights you're going to get out of that allow you to make better business decisions. There's an enhanced assurance and risk control. A lot of these tools that we buy when we're looking at things like Acumen Fuse, you have to go out and separately run those tools. And it's a physical process that you've got to do. When your system is all integrated properly, we've developed tools within our organization that allow us to automatically see what the status of our project and our programs are. And also, you're going to provide yourself with a better and more resilient delivery organization at the end of this. This is all going to bring together and give you a much better overview of your projects. It's a more consistent approach, and it allows you to ensure that everyone's doing things the same way. The ability to be able to move staff between projects when they've got the same systems in place cannot be overestimated. It's brilliant when you've got somebody who's ill, long-term sick people, you can just swap them out and they should just be able to go back in, do a quick project summary, and off they go. So we use a method called Pop-It. I know lots of other people have got different frameworks. Part of this transformation program is that taking traditional to digital, We are looking at understanding the mindset and method of transition through the people, the organisation, the process, information and technology. We start off by taking a baseline reading. We understand the project from start to finish. Then we start looking at how we define our end state. Again, when we're looking at people, we're looking at the training that they do. People are the backbone of the organisation. Without them and without the investment into their talents, it's very difficult to transition. The organisation itself, you've got to look at the governance, you've got to look at the goals, the project delivery, what model you're going to be using, what roles and responsibilities you're going to need, and may require an organisational transformation as well. From a process perspective, are your processes still fit for purpose? Do we need to amend those? From an information perspective, are we using standardised templates and doing reporting refreshes to make sure that the things that we're putting in place are now fit for purpose? And in terms of technology, making it real time, a single source of data, the primary data sources, and enhancing that decision-making enablers. If you've never come across Chesterton's fence, I think it's a fantastic thing for every consultancy. So if we win anything out of today, you can take this away with you. There's a big thing about going into a consultancy, going into a client organisation and looking around, saying Chesterton's fence, you go to a field, there's a fence. Why is that fence there? Most people go, I don't need that fence anymore. It's just on its own sitting in the middle of the field. But you don't understand why the fence was there in the first place and what the situation it was to understand why we made that decision to put it in place. So by understanding that methodology properly, for the next one, when we start looking at inefficiencies and duplications, you may see it's inefficient, but it's holding everything up. Leave the fence in place, understand, work out what you're going to do and plan to remove it properly, and then you'll get a much better result and outcome for everybody. In terms of building capability in data management and digital tools, you want to do that carefully, thoughtfully. You want to think about exactly what your organisation is going to look like at the end of this and what you actually need. And then you want to pilot your improvements. The scalability is not a case of just turning it on and expecting everything to work. Small progressions, small steps. You need to improve, you need to bring those pilots online. You don't need to have all the technology in place day one. Small steps are a better way to bring people along for the journey. In terms of the transition roadmap, identifying systems, integrating them, creating dashboards, those are the quick wins, how we exchange data, how we output our results and how we reduce workloads is a full process that we take through. And it's circular. It goes back to the beginning again, and we start the process over and over again to ensure that we get the most efficient thing. We won't get it right first time, and that's something you have to acknowledge at the start. So moving beyond best practice, looking at next practice. Next practice is embracing innovation, intelligence, and adaptability to create modern PMOs. Novar is a disruptor in this workspace. We are using agentic AIs to not replace, but to augment team members, but also to embed them within the system's thinking. One of the things that we've been looking at has been to do with document management, for instance. A lot of work is involved in ensuring that documents have got fully populated metadata before it goes into your document management system. Otherwise, you won't be able to find it properly. Agentic AI can do this on your behalf. And instead of needing 5 or 6 document controls managers all at one point, when all of a sudden you've got a major milestone in your project and you've got 300 or 400 documents coming in, the agentic AI can make it a lot simpler so you don't need to keep having these big resource spikes. We look at the different connected ecosystems. Data is a strategic asset. We've got so much data in our coffers in every organisation we go to. As soon as we get to the end of a project, you'll rarely see a lessons learned take place. You'll even more rarely see taking that digital data, feeding it back in, reviewing all of that information, looking at costs, looking at processes, and seeing where problems arose and what we can learn from it. Adaptive governance. When we think of PMOs, we look at the data repository of documents that have been signed off step by step, and then they sit there and they rot in your document management system. Well, fortunately they don't, because documents don't rot digitally. but nobody goes back and looks at them on a regular basis. If they do, it's 6 monthly. Why are we waiting 6 monthly to review something that doesn't work? Every time we start to see issues, we should be going back in and revising and reviewing those. And with AI, it makes it even simpler. You can start feeding that information directly back in, getting suggestions and changes to your documents. I've done this in one of my charities. We do this with health and safety files. As soon as somebody puts a health and safety issue in, it feeds straight back into our risk process, and we immediately identify what changes we could have made. And it comes straight through as a suggestion to our inboxes. And then people-centered automation. We've got people on these projects, and they need to be assisted, and they need to be upskilled to work with these things. But making them work smarter is always helpful. It's going to reduce their workload. It's going to make them feel happier at work. They're going to spend more time doing things that they've enjoyed and the reason why they've taken on this job in the first place. So how do you get started? A lot of this is going to be very obvious to some of you guys here. First of all, appointing a sponsor to champion the change, selecting a pilot project, setting clear success criteria. And that actually is a bit of a struggle in itself. So if you partner with an SME, we will help you put those success criteria down and help you invest in the right tooling. It's very important not to necessarily look at all the big boys in this. You want somebody that's adaptable and agile. One of the things that we work well at is a customized approach. We don't foist pre-made systems onto people. You're looking at digitally developing your own business. That's the key to ensuring that you've got something that's acceptable and works well. We have to look at everything. We have to holistically look at the project and understand exactly what it is that the client needs to be able to reach their goals. The AI-powered analytics is almost something that just comes along as part of the path and helps us to augment that decision-making process. What things do we want to avoid? I think every transformation program focuses on the tech first before thinking about what problem it is they want to solve. I've worked in several organisations where somebody's mate runs a digital consultancy organisation and they go, they've got a really cool product, we should use that. That's not the way around it should be. You should be looking at the problem first, you should be understanding exactly what's out there in the market, and then you should be getting the right solution. And that is often not an off-the-shelf solution. Failing to involve the delivery teams in design. I've got a lovely book called Systems Thinking, Systems Process, which I think was written back in the 1970s. And ironically, it's all about involving delivery teams in discussions. So we don't seem to solve that problem. It still seems to be present today. There's definitely lessons to be learned there. And then there's over-engineering in early stage solutions. There's a lot of very enthusiastic young graduates and people that have come into organisations or people that have self-taught themselves how to do Power BI. They fit it out with every bell and whistle that they've got. You've got a big pile of spreadsheets pushing behind everything that drives it all, and not a lot of thinking as to how that's actually going to fit into the workspace, how it's going to get maintained, and how people are going to continue to run the business once that person has left and moved on. Often we see that as a failure. We get brought in to come in and maintain a tool for somebody that's been custom written 5-10 years ago that does all these wonderful things. Also, ignoring legacy data. We talked about this earlier on, that we should be looking at the lessons that we've got and using all of that information. And we also see a lot of bypassing of governance structures, and it's a very key thing that you have to look at, especially when you're developing new tools, as to why people are bypassing those governance structures. And probably the biggest of all is treating that digital PMO as a one-off project. It's an ongoing thing. Just like a normal PMO is, you will continue the evolution of your project throughout its life cycles over a number of years. So, in summary, traditional PMOs are often firefighting operations. Digital PMO is putting structure and data-driven scalable results together. The journey is culture change. A lot of this is all to do with the people. And you do find there's a lot of digital dinosaurs still out there, even to this day, do not want to embrace AI, do not understand it, and they need to be brought along on the journey. It's not just IT upgrades. And the success depends on that clear vision, a phased delivery, engaged teams. And if one thing we go away from this is that engaged teams require consultation, and they need to understand what it is that's coming, and everybody needs to be involved in it. Too many systems get switched on and never used. The outcome, better decisions, happier people, and improved performance. So I'll open up for questions. Just before I do though, I've got a nice big QR code. Hopefully you can take pictures of it from here if you want. We've actually done a soft launch today of some of the tools that we use that are more generic. They're all very safe. You can upload your data to them. They're controlled within your browser. Your mobile phone is probably not the best place to do or to run these. It probably doesn't have quite the right power, but your laptop will. That enables you to utilize these free of charge on our site. If you want to see a practical demonstration, please come by our booth. It's not for sale. It's just a thing that you can play with. And then if anybody does want us to come in and help them with implementing those specifically for the organization, that's something we can talk to you about. Has anyone got any questions?
Great presentation, Tim. Really.
Thank you very much.
Enjoyed the use of the napkin AI.
There we go.
Just wanted to get your view. I realise it's not an either or necessarily, but on the balance between sort of automating some of those current processes and using Oracle software or whatever the sort of incumbent legacy software is that you come across, versus providing that foresight or insight or sort of like future-looking view or sort of forward-looking planning tools. Because when I think back to my times in the sort of project controls and PMO, no matter how well we automated the sort of current situation, it wouldn't have vastly improved things, I don't think, because the issue was, almost like seeing ahead and sort of seeing some of those issues before time. That would have provided far greater value than and then just making things quicker and more efficient.
You can streamline everything, but going back to people, it matters. The skills matter that you've got within your teams to help improve things and to ensure that you get the correct answers towards your project. As you say, I can make things as efficient as possible, but if you're not getting the right answers out and it's not helping you make those business decisions, then it's not helped. And the solution obviously wasn't correct. The efficiency is just a tool to help the people provide the results and look forward. If you're not getting the opportunity to look forward, you're never going to start fixing the problems. You need to free up time with the resources you've got. And I think the biggest challenge we've got today is that the workforce availability, the skilled professionals that we have are in such a minority. We're seeing a lot of that driving prices up with consultants. So if you're bringing contractors into your organization, they are getting more and more expensive because they're becoming more and more in need. So every bit of efficiency that you can bring in to reduce the requirement on them, to enable them to work across multiple projects and portfolios is the best way to drive it. But yeah, it's the forward-looking view that we're trying to attain with all of this. It's not efficiency. Efficiency is just the tool to help us get there.
Almost frees up the bandwidth.
Yes, it frees up the bandwidth, exactly. Any other questions? We're making you work for it now.
Hi Tim, great presentation. One thing for me was the level of security when you are importing schedules into the tool. I think my client is very conscious of security and what we do share. How secure would you say it is?
So, take it from two different approaches. The stuff that we've got on Showcase, it all processes on your computer in the browser and nothing leaves your computer to go anywhere else. So you're essentially downloading a temporary program. As soon as you hit refresh, it's gone. So we don't cache any of that information. And in terms of the AI-assisted tool that we've got, you will type things in. It's a closed box. It doesn't do any learning, but you can ask it for process and procedures, and it generates stuff specifically off the CASA and APM frameworks. In terms of the tools that we put in place, very good question in terms of how do you implement these things. So working obviously within the defence sector and working within the energy sector, especially with clients like National Gas and Sellafield, obviously there's a lot of different security requirements. And a lot of the fun part in what we do has been getting the tools implemented behind the firewalls within the organisation so that they have overall control. Does also create some interesting problems when it comes to maintainability, but that's all covered under service contracts. So in terms of putting things in Azure and things like that, we would do that for projects that are less secure, but we'd have to do customized solutions for those within the defence sector. I'll take that as a note that I covered everything. If you want to come and talk to us afterwards, as say, come have a chat with the booth. I'm afraid I'm going to be heading off quite soon because I've got to catch a train, but we have got our technology and innovation lead, Yash, over by the screen. So if you've got any really technical questions, you can go and bombard him. He's not seen this presentation, so he won't know what I've said. So you'll get a true reflection of what we do. Thank you.